They're all spread out today.
Falls right back.
It's different. We're missing one.
Still in the yellow.
Yeah, it's beautiful one now.
Which is great. But that goes in the, put nail 2x4s to the floor, so we'll never do that again. That was.
We don't know if we can continue talking about
Go
it.
ahead,
Oh, right, yeah.
Man, the bell killed the vibe, huh?
Oh, yeah. So I think we were hurting, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, last time I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
People kept saying, "Oh, you gotta start the meeting." I was like, 60 feet. Okay.
Which is a bad.
Maybe I'll start.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm looking around and I'm thinking of any other guests except for one, which is the speaker, which Jason will announce.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Today's speaker is Rob Meehan. He is the director of CBOEO's Feeding Champlain Valley, formerly known as Feeding Chittenden, and the Chittenden Emergency Food Shelf. He's been in this role since 2007, overseeing FCV's growth into Vermont's largest direct service anti-hunger organization. During his tenure, Rob launched the Good Food Truck program, co-founded Community Kitchen Academy, a culinary job training program designed to provide career skills while addressing food insecurity, and more recently, online ordering and delivery program, including food lockers. Under his leadership, the organization rebranded from Feeding Chittenden to Feeding Champlain Valley in June 2024 to better reflect its expanded reach into Addison, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he pivoted part of the organization's operations from a communal cafeteria to a high-volume distribution center for pre-bagged groceries and meals to meet surging community needs. Rob is a vocal advocate for addressing the root causes of poverty. He frequently represents the organizations in legislative discussions advocating for programs like 3 Squares Vermont and increasing funding for local food first. I also want to say on a personal note, I met Rob last summer, and Feeding Champlain Valley is actually moving into a building that I own, and we're in the process of fitting it up for a new warehouse, office, and marketplace. So I think he's going to talk a little bit about that as well. So please welcome Rob for me. Thank you.
So much. Hello, everyone. That was a very nice introduction. I can go now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you all as Rotarians for what you do. I admire you and think you're awesome for being volunteers, especially getting up this early and gathering. But we work with a lot of volunteers. Sally and I, Sally from the Williston Food Shelf was just explaining all the volunteer work there in Williston. And again, what you're doing, helping your community in this way is really admirable. As Jason mentioned, and thank you, Jason, for asking me to speak today. I really appreciate it. With food security work, as a lot of you know, I know you're working on that as well. It's complicated. It's really uncomplicated at the same time. It's very basic. We all eat, and essentially, pardon me, what we're looking to do at Feeding Champlain Valley is come up with ways that everyone can access food. We believe if everyone in our Champlain Valley has access to food, a rising tide lifts all ships. It will help us all if everyone has access to food. That helps children focus in school. That helps seniors get through tough times. That helps people with chronic illness get through days. And we all here had something to eat this morning, the coffee, some bagels. Maybe you had some food before you showed up. Some people that are helping at the Williston Food Shelf, for example, who slept outside last night or in their car, are looking for that just basic, fundamental, basic need of food. So we start there, right? We know 2 in 5 people in Vermont experience food insecurity. It means there's just not enough food for them to get through. That's a high number. That's 40% of Vermonters experiencing problems with getting food. We know in Champlain Valley, we're talking about Vermont statewide, that's over 57,000 people. We just happen to be really heavily populated in this region. So statistically, we're dealing with more, but it doesn't mean it's not the same as if it's in Albert or wherever. So if you're experiencing any kind of challenges with food wherever you are, it's not good. So we all can agree to that. But how we address it is what's interesting to me. From being around for a little while, I've watched sort of the emergency reaction, and that doesn't necessarily fix the problem. It helps in a moment. It's almost like a Band-Aid approach. So what we think we need is a systemic, more food systems approach to helping with the problem of food insecurity in Vermont. And luckily, there's a group of food systems experts who've been working on this issue for the last couple of years. These are people from Hunger Free Vermont, from the Vermont Food Bank, from NOFA Vermont, from a bunch of other nonprofits, and a network of 240 food shelves like size that get together often and talk about what could we do to change this. What they created was something called the Food Security Roadmap of 2035. And I encourage you all to check that out online whenever you get a chance. Just Google Vermont Food Security Roadmap. And you'll see some of the ideas of how we could create a system that really could address food security in Vermont. The reason I like it, it focuses on how we keep federal dollars in Vermont by reducing barriers to nutrition, federal nutrition programs, like Jason mentioned, like SNAP, and our state used to be called the Food Stamp Program. In our state, we call that 3 Squared Vermont. And there's barriers to access. And essentially, when there are barriers, that money that we could be using in our local stores or at farmers markets is going back to Texas, the state treasury, U.S. Treasury. And we don't get to use that here in Vermont. There's just that basic fundamental economics of hunger relief that I find interesting, in addition to obviously helping each of us eat. You know, with charitable food, we find ourselves at an interesting intersection of compassion and justice. And it's a very busy intersection. So we see agriculture in Vermont, which you all remember we faced a serious amount of floods and then a crazy drought. We had the COVID pandemic. We've just gone through a bunch of problems that have impacted our economy and specifically our agriculture economy. So the Food Security Roadmap looks at how do we address food security in Vermont. Got to talk about agriculture. How can we make sure that our local growing and producing of food is, to the maximum? And what if we could have charitable food, for example, use at least 40% of that food locally? So right now you see for Feeding Champlain Valley, we move about 2.25 million pounds of food each year. A lot of that food is purchased, and most of it is donated. So there's the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which is a federal nutrition program. And a lot of that food is grown Midwest or who knows where. And some of that comes to us is in the form of dates, or it might be cranberries. It might be, so that oftentimes what happens, and Sally probably can relate, is people will say, "Where's the food?" They're looking at berries and things. The Farm Bill goes through Congress every 5 years and determines, what we're going to do with that, with those subsidies. So that includes the SNAP program, food stamps. It includes the emergency food that you see as USDA commodities. And it also includes money for things like WIC and a myriad of other programs that are under FNS for food nutrition services for different programs. Might be community supplemental food boxes for people over 60. It might be summer meal programs. There's this whole network of systems that are designed to help us mitigate food insecurity. And the sad news is a lot of them are either underfunded or some of those programs have barriers built into them that almost prevent us from using them. So a big part of our job, in addition to creating a network of distribution of food, is to advocate for federal dollars to come into Vermont. It's really fascinating stuff. I want to tell you a little bit about Feeding Champlain Valley, because that's my job. We have 4 pantries. We have one in Burlington. That's near and dear to me because I sat in that building for, I don't know, 15 years or something, and watched this repeated process of volunteers coming and trying to put out fires, basically, and being really frustrated at a patriarchal system where I have it and you didn't, and you needed to go through my system in order to get it. And volunteers would come to me frantically to say, how can we fix this? And I don't know. And so we would go back and forth of, I don't think you can fix this. So I know, Sally, you can relate. And in Burlington, you know, a lot of the population around in the Old North End living in camps or living in our delivery vehicles, and it's not okay, you know, so we have to try to stop that from happening, but also help people. So we're looking at the federal support down on the local level and the person on the front line who's trying to just get in front of them. Meanwhile, in our conference room, when we're talking as workers, we're saying, how do we get the Head Start mom the best nutrition possible to help that family? So then we're looking at all the types of food we're going to need to get: locally produced meats and produce. We need to get all kinds of milk and cheese. And what do the kids want? And we talked about that. Then we learned the Head Start mom didn't want to come to our place because she was saying, I don't want my friends to see me there, or I don't like the way it feels to ask you for help. And then I've met so many seniors in my job who always tell me the same thing. I want you to give that to someone else who needs it more, which is just a beautiful sentiment. But as an advocate who's fighting for the food, you're like, please take it. So this is like a common thread of the basics of our work. We're really trying hard to bring the dollars into the state to come up with a really great system of distributing the food to the people who need it the most. And we found almost half of the people who are eligible for charitable food in Vermont do not go because of this stigma. So we said, okay, what should we do next? During the pandemic, we had cars lining up. You might have seen this on the TV if people remember, trying to get boxes of food. We saw that from the food shelf perspective, people will go to food if it's not in the food shelf. We'll go get that. So then we created an online market. We hired a young person who was good at computers, which wasn't me. And she came up with a system of with Head Start classrooms. Again, we focused on that demographic. And we were having the Head Start families order online with the help of a teacher. And then we would deliver the food people actually wanted that they picked online. And some of that was culturally relevant food. Some of it was dietetic specific. And it worked. People that weren't coming to the food shelf received the food. We started saying, hey, this is working. And now it's grown quite a bit. So in Burlington, we started some of those initiatives. But meanwhile, we had a food pantry in Middlebury that was growing into a food hub, partnering with some ag folks, with a group down there called Acorn. And they started purchasing directly from farms. So last year, we purchased about $110,000 of locally produced farm foods. We're pretty proud of that. We want that to continue to grow. Our budget right now with the 4 pantries is a little over $3 million that we spend every year that we have to generate as revenue from donors. We don't receive government dollars still, which is just bizarre. Because if you hear what I'm saying, we're trying to help use the federal dollar. So it would make sense that we did receive some of those money to do that. But the pantry in Middlebury has some amazing people there that are focused on delivering rural food, some of whom are farm workers themselves. We also have a pantry in St. Albans, That's a food shelf called Northwest Family Food. It's been there for many, many years. And those folks have about, I think it's 50 people a day or so that go and receive help. We are now helping about 12 to 15,000 people, it depends, each year through the 4 pantries. The 4th one is in Richford, and that's with a partnership with Notch. And some of you may know Notch community health folks. They're really neat. But I want to share a little bit more about what we're doing, but I also don't want to talk so much at you this morning that you can hear from this presentation so far. There's a lot, right? We're looking at pantries and what that work is like. We also are trying to create more meals for people. So we have 3 chefs who make about 27,000 meals a month. And those meals go through that food shelf network. They also go directly to a network of shelters. I think we have about 7 shelters right now that receive food from us that are under the CVOEO umbrella. So when Jason was telling you that the Burlington Food Shelf was founded, that was in '74 when 5 church groups approached the Community Action Agency and asked for help. And so since then, we've now grown, we've networked all of those CVOEO hunger relief efforts under one umbrella and have really looked at trying to approach food security with innovation through online market work. And we focus on another population, and that's work with clinicians. And this is something that I've been really interested in for a long time. Often when we're in those meetings talking about what kind of food should we get, we find ourselves saying, well, we're not doctors, and our job isn't to regulate the behavior of people. It's really just to provide an opportunity to get food. And then we would debate about, we shouldn't have donuts or whatever. Then it started getting really heady. When you actually talk to a dietitian or a nutritionist about food, you can see how that breaks down in our body and how it's different for all of us. And all of us have different needs. So we determine it's not our job to determine what we all need, but it's your job, and hopefully with a professional. So we said, why don't we work with them? So we reached out to healthcare folks. I took my daughter to a doctor's visit, and they asked us a bunch of questions. Maybe some of you have had this experience. They had a questionnaire, and it said, "Do you have enough food today?" Has anybody seen that? Yeah. So, and I hadn't seen it, and this is maybe time is weird to me now, but maybe 8 years ago, I don't know. Anyway, I was asked all these questions, and I said, "What are you going to do with that information?" And as a nerdy hunger guy, I was like, "Ooh, it must be like community needs assessment. We're going to learn about the community." But then I went, "What if people say, no, I don't have enough food? You told us, and then we brought them the food." It was really basic. So I called someone at UVM and said, "Hey, I work this thing. Can we do that?" And she was like, "That's great. Let's do it." And she got a grant for like $100,000 through UVM. And we started a pilot project where when the person said, "I don't have enough food," they ordered directly from our inventory and we drove it to them. And then we went, we got to keep doing this. So then we built sort of makeshift pantries at clinicians' places. We worked with 22 clinicians over a 5-year period. And we brought food to either the doctor's office, and which was getting weird because then they're like having food pantries in their waiting areas. That's not working. Now, as Jason mentioned, we started a program at Bristol Mountain Health, which is a federally qualified healthcare center, with food lockers. So now these are big lockers like at a gym or whatever, and they're out on a kiosk at the bus stop, and a person can go whenever they want, 24/7, and get their food that they've ordered online. And it's just like a little keypad. You put in the numbers you were given. Pretty simple. And those people were referred to us from a doctor. So the next step with that work, we're working with American Cancer Society to bring food to cancer survivors. It gets weird because it starts to, people want to talk about how much money you earn and all this other stuff when it comes to charitable food. That's hard for me because if you're a cancer survivor, I don't really care what you earn. I want to bring you food. It's just, all of these things are challenging. But that project is pretty exciting. Again, that's working with some partners at UVM and others. We're also working not so much on medically tailored meals, which are meals your doctor might be putting in a blender and have all kinds of specificity to it. We don't go that deep. We look at medical foods more broadly. So for me, for example, I need water because I'm Irish and I don't want to do that. I just want to drink coffee all day. I need like food that's not high fat, because Irish people like me, it doesn't do good for our cholesterol. So I can't eat all the things I want. I want to eat like Ben and Jerry's and chocolate chip cookies all day. Because my mom, when she's no longer with us, when she was like I think 80, she just wanted tea and like toast. Like probably gonna need some nutrition there too. So that's kind of the framework for me as an Irish guy approaching hunger relief. I know I need nutrition, and it's really hard for me. So when anybody that's in front of me, I'm like, how are you doing it? How do you eat broccoli? So for me, how I eat broccoli is my daughter or my wife cooks it better than me. That's how I eat it. If it's me, again, I'm not going to make the best decisions. So I feel this work is really personal like that. It comes down to the choices that I make for myself. I don't want to dictate what you make. But as it's more justice oriented, not just the compassion side, it's also people's right to food. Food is a basic human right, and we need to like embrace that, not allow people to go without. We get confused, we make everything political in our country. It's not. It's not a political conversation. This is just basics. Let's make sure everybody gets enough food. That means our kids are going to do better in school because they're going to focus, right? It's just basic stuff. So I really enjoy the work a lot. I wanted to share that with you too, because people often think that this is like, I don't know, I didn't do this for any kind of spiritual or religious reasons. And I think that that's often confused because this does look that way. This looks as if this is a quest of sorts. But I just wanted to share that I'm really mindful that this came from those 5 church groups that started this. So there's something else going on here, and I want to honor it, recognize it. I know I'm a steward for some of the work of hundreds of people, I might even say thousands over all these years, that together believe, like you Rotarians do, that if you get together and just work on something, that you can make your community better. So I don't want to bore you more with details. You can look up more, feedingchamplainvalley.org. You can learn more about us. You can reach out to me anytime you'd like, but I was hoping maybe we could talk a little bit more of anything that you have on your mind about this and any questions that you have.
Thanks, Rob. I have a lot of things to say, but I'll try to keep it under control. So you alluded to the fact that there's an inherent power structure in giving food. We have the food, you don't. So we struggle against that all the time. We used to do pre-packed bags for people outside of our target areas. We don't do that anymore. If they come, we give them the list. It's somewhat limited to what, because they're outside our target area, but they get to pick whatever it is that they want. That brings me to the healthy food issue. There are ways to present food in your food shelf so that the healthier food is more attractive and more accessible. But it's also not okay food for people. They should be allowed to make their own food. And if they want junky cereal, they should be able to get junky cereal.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. One other thing that we've done, because Hannaford's made a huge change for us. When they started giving us produce for free, all of a sudden we have a lot of people who come from outside our target area simply because we have so much produce. They don't really care about the canned beans. They want the real beans. So what we did, and I'm going to resurrect it because it sort of fell by the wayside, is we came up with recipes for produce. Simple ones that only had 4 or 5 ingredients that were easy to make because as it happens, more than 50% of our families are working families. You know, people think, you know, people who go to food shelves are either seniors or disabled or they're not working. Well, we have families that are working 1, 2, and 3 jobs. They don't have time to make a complicated recipe. But if we can make it simple and it involves fresh produce, then we've enabled them to eat healthy, which everybody wants to do. That, you know, unhealthy food is cheaper and it's easier. You know, prepared foods, you don't have to do much. But people would prefer to have healthy food if they can access it. So we're going to resurrect our recipe program so that we can help people to figure out how to use that weird vegetable that's sitting on the shelf. Anyway, I'm sorry, that's all comments. But one other thing we did, because we worry about seniors not being able to get out to food or not going to food shelves because they want to make sure everybody else gets food, is we work out a deal with some of the senior places here where either the management of the place will give out shopping lists to their seniors, bring the shopping list, we pack the bags and we send it back, or the Lions Club, as it happens, gets shopping lists from a couple of the senior places, brings them to us. We pack the food and the Lions come back and take it back to us. So again, those people, those seniors don't have to show up at the food shelf for whatever reason. Maybe they're disabled or they're too embarrassed to come, but we can get them food because we worry that they don't get out and get it themselves.
Sorry, that was a lot.
Oh, sorry.
No, actually, that wasn't a lot. That was great. And my experience has also been that the recipes are critically important. I worked with a woman once who could have written many cookbooks on the foods that she got at our local food shelf. It was amazing. I'm like, let me be your taste tester because they were just amazing. But also people don't have a lot of resources for cooking. Stoves or microwaves or whatever. I mean, there's just not the accessibility to all of that. So thank you. I think those are wonderful. I'd like to contribute to the recipes, but I don't cook well. I'll distribute them. Maybe not.
Other questions? I'll take back.
You had mentioned that you spend $3 million a year, and I was wondering about your funding sources for that $3 million.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I wanted to also mention Sally's comment about sort of the behavioral economics of food, and, you know, pantries across the state are doing what Sally described as trying to promote healthy eating. So there's a lot of ways that we do that, with different pins, with different murals, with different ways to find food attractive. And supermarkets are geared to, you know, steer your children. If you notice, the food that's at cart height is the sugary stuff the kids want. The milk's in the back, so we have to go through the store. There's a lot of behavioral economics in food that promote us to purchase more too. So it's really interesting, charitable food, how we design things to help. There's much more to the story than just distributing the actual food. Our budget's interesting. We're primarily receive charitable donations only from people, but also from some foundations. If you looked at our sort of our fundraising pyramid, it's primarily people. That's how powerful this work is. You know, so some foundations might be, you know, a small grant from National Life in Vermont. It might be Ben & Jerry's Foundation, just random things like that. If we're building something, we can leverage some federal dollars for that through HUD or other systems. So get some capital funds for that. But our general operating fund for those 4 pantries, that full meal distribution site, the culinary meal programming, the 25 employees, and the fleet of vehicles. It starts to become a big beast. What I can tell you that I feel happy about this time of business is our pie that shows you where the money is spent has continually changed to direct service is where the money is going. So I mentioned earlier, purchasing food here in Vermont, and we're going to do more of purchasing supplies, things like diapers and non-food items that people really need. I didn't delve into a lot of that today, but Sally could do a whole lecture on this topic. But that really what I was hoping you would look at, and thanks for asking, is the system of food in America and our role in that. And as Rotarians, I know you know that more than most people that I talk to, because you're participating in an actual active role in your community. That's really what this is about. It's about trying to be a voice for each other and kind of leveraging those dollars.
So I was at a doctor's office yesterday and there was actually food available. There was a cooler with drinks and they had a lot of breakfast kinds of things in the morning and I didn't, is that part of what you're promoting? Because it really worked well. I mean, people are definitely taking advantage of it.
Yes, yes. So part of, we're not going to claim that we did this, but part of the movement that's happening in America and specifically here in Vermont, I'm part of a bunch of task forces. One of them is with UVM doctors, and they're going to be taking the work that we started much more broadly through the network. So what you described, you're going to see throughout Vermont. And I don't know if this is good or bad, because you guys can debate healthcare. I don't want to get in that one, because my daughter was just in the hospital, unfortunately, and she's doing well. But in Montreal, she's a student in Montreal, and there are a different healthcare system there. So just another interesting side note. But they didn't focus on food the way we are, and I was fascinated by that. So proud of Vermont for what they're doing. In addition to having food available, like you described, a lot of the places will have, like in St. Albans with the hospital there, we had a program for about a year where we wanted every person leaving to have the opportunity to take food with them, just to study it. And everybody took food, pretty much. It's fascinating. And so it was just another light bulb moment of it. This isn't an economic class issue. It just turns into that when one population is lined up in a poor neighborhood. We're all eating.
Let's get the question back over here. I think it's gonna be the last question.
Not telling a story because that's what I do. No, I think I've been around things like this and hearing it specifically called out as a justice issue as well as everything else, and not just in terms of like what you said that everyone deserves food and that's just a right. I was homeless for a while. I think some of you guys know this, and I had a Renaissance guild that I belonged to at the time, and my guild master, who was a crazy old man, he was great. He used to invite me over to help him with all these things around the house, and he'd help me like with a closet he needed cleaned out, or he needed me to do something in his yard, or this, that, and the other. And I thought this must be the most disorganized, hapless person in the entire world, because he kept calling me over to help him. And then eventually I caught, after a few weeks of this, I realized he was feeding me. He brought me over each time to feed me dinner at night. And he would say, why don't you stay and have dinner? So I was eating a healthy dinner, most nights of the week. And the way that he extended that to me really impacted me, that I never felt like I was getting a handout. It was just at his house helping him out. Dinner happened to be there. And the model that you're describing seems so much more like that in terms of thinking about the individuals. I think we think of like those homeless people over there or those hungry people over there, but these are people we know, like this is right around us, and depersonalizing it causes all kinds of problems. So hearing that it's being personalized in a way of like, no, these are our neighbors, we should invite them over for dinner. It's really good to hear.
Great story. Thanks. So I'm gonna bring up Jason, I'm gonna bring up Andy with cards.
All right, thank you, Rob. That was great. Because of your great presentation for us today, a donation in your honor has been made to the Connecting Youth Mentoring Program at Williston Central School. So thank you very much. And most importantly, and I warned you about this, you are picking raffle tickets today. And we are down to 4 cards, everyone. So this is high stakes. Could you pick a ticket and read the last 3 digits?
Hang on. Need my readers.
I told him to build the.
They're in here somewhere. I tried squinting, it doesn't work. Okay, you ready? 063.
Oh.
Nice.
All right, come on up.
Dun, dun, dun.
1 in 4 chances here, Walt.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
4 cards.
Oh. Oh.
It's still there, guys. We're down to 3. Make sure you come next week. Thank you again, Rob. No, that's it. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was a great presentation. So we're gonna go through a couple announcements. First, so some of this I already sent on the email for the updated meeting. I know some people read it, some people don't, but I'll go through some of it. So we're gonna start with board meeting decisions. So we had a board meeting last week. Just what kind of came out of it. One was that we were releasing $1,000 to the Richmond food shelf. That was one of the budgeted items, and Sherry has the check, I believe, and she'll probably coordinate with some people to go over and give it some time. We raised the $3,000 budgeted for scholarships to $4,000. There was a member that gave $1,000 specifically for scholarships. So we're gonna honor that, and we're up to $4,000. So awesome. And thank you. We were asked to go to South Burlington, and they'd like to have us over. They came over this year when the district governor came over. They just want to have us over. They originally shot for June 4th. Now, as many of you know, June 1st, which is that Monday, is when we're having changeover. So that's kind of a busy week, and plus we have the 30th, which is a couple days before that. We have like 2 or 3 events that we're doing. So we can do it on the 4th, or I asked them if we could do it on the 11th, which is a week after, which I thought would be better. Do we have people that would like to go and go over to the Burlington Club?
Sure.
Okay, so is the 11th probably a better date than the 4th?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna say the 11th, because I think we're just too busy with other things that particular week and the week before. So thank you. Yeah.
So Vince,
Yes.
since changeover is on a Monday,
Yes.
will we be having a regular meeting here on Thursday?
We normally do not, and we can kind of,
Changeover is normally on the Thursday.
yeah, we can kind of talk about that. I do know that Memorial Day, I don't know. We haven't gotten that far yet, but and that is usually what happens. Is usually when we have changeover, we don't have a meeting that week that kind of counts as a meeting. So let me just play it by ear a little bit, and I'll get back to you. But just to bring it up, hopefully everybody knows that usually we have changeover later in the month of June, but we wanted to get into Isham's, and their date that they had available was the 1st of June. So we're going to be going over there. So again, save the date.
No, we don't have to meet in a barn.
We don't have to meet in the barn, but I will say the barn doesn't charge us. And that actually was helpful, because we looked at other places, and we had one place that wanted to charge us $700 for the room. Now we had another place that wanted to charge us $400 for a room, and that was discount for a nonprofit. So
And that's
we
what-
could, we could have done that, we could have done that, and you know what? But if you think about it, for 40 people, 50 people, that's at least $10 a head. That is just going to the room, so. We'll find some place that will donate the room, one of these years.
What about a barbecue at Marty and Barb's house?
We could do that. Sherry's offered to do it at her house, so those are always up, but we'll let Chris make those decisions for next year. So this year it is at Isham. A couple other things, the Rotary Foundation brunch, which people are invited to, is down in Lebanon, New Hampshire. It's this Sunday. We have 3 or 4 people, I believe, going. So do you want to go? I think it's $50 for the lunch, starts at 11. Just sign up online. If you need the link, look at some of my past notes, you can get there. So last week I put a link into the update that I had, didn't have a chance to talk about. So I'll just talk about it briefly that I saw. So I got this from Armand from, that was Playground 27, I think they called it. It's for Allenbrook. So Allenbrook is raising funds to build a playground. I'm not sure if people have kids here, or, you know, they already have a playground and they're expanding it. I'm not really sure what it's all about, but what they're doing is, you know, they're looking for people to give donations. It was really for a business. People can do it individually. There's a link and a flyer in what I just recently sent. If we think as a club it's important to us, we can talk about that for next year. You know, if we want to give something more significant like 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that, because we have talked about in previous years that we might want to save up for some big event, something bigger to kind of put our name on and so on. So I'll just, if you are interested, just look at the email I sent. If anybody doesn't get the email, like on a weekly basis, because I know Chris does, because he says I get too many emails from Vince, but yeah, you're true. You're right. But if you don't get it, like in your email, like twice a week, right? You get one before the meeting on Wednesday, and usually after meeting on Friday. See me, because I'm probably going into your spam or something like that. So hopefully everybody gets it.
You do a great job with the email.
I try at least, and again,
Yeah.
for recaps, again, you guys are in the meeting, so you don't really need the recap. So the recap is really for people who aren't there, but I throw some nuggets in there. Okay, talk about that. Just real briefly. So during the district conference, which I mentioned was June 12th, that's up in Quebec. I don't think most of us usually go to it, but it is open and it would be great to have some people go. They've asked if we had, they must do a memorial at it. So they asked if we had any of our members that we're aware of that passed in the last 12 months. So I know we've had some that passed previous to that, but if anybody's aware of it, because they're going to keep hounding me until I say nobody, but I didn't want to miss anybody. Did we have anybody that anybody is aware of that passed? Okay, well, that's good. That's great. That is great. So Elizabeth couldn't make the meeting today, but she wanted me to pass on the information about the Williston Green Fair. She said loading for tables and tents is from 8 to 8:30. Hopefully people, I know a lot of people are going to go to the clean up the Green Day event, John Jacob, and that's was at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, right.
9 o'clock.
At
9 o'clock at Hannaford. And it's, you know, to be honest, it's a lot of fun. It just is. You know, you spend a little more time with some of Rotarians. You can walk around, you talk, and clean up stuff. So it's a good time. And you got food or something, right? You got donuts or you got donuts. So, but Elizabeth will need some help setting up beforehand, and you're going to help Chris, or
I'm going to be there on behalf of the church. So we usually do a communal helping each other.
greatly appreciated, but again, any more hands is helpful. After Green Up Day, please go over to the tent. If you haven't done it before, please go over to the tent. They can always use some help, either giving out the plants or just meeting people, greeting people, telling them about Rotary, telling them what we do, telling them how we try to impact their lives and their community.
A lot of fun. It's very fun to be.
It is. It really is a good day. Wear your Rotary hat, and if you have a vest or a shirt or anything, wear those things on those particular day. So I'm going to bring up Lisa, please. Special, extra special drawing.
It's not exciting for clapping, but so the St. George Dragon Days is confirmed now for May 30th. And Tracy and I are heading that up, but I just need 3-4 people to come with us and greet the community, Kel. And anybody else, please let us know, because it'll be the same thing. We'll need help with the tent, with the tables, with the chairs, and with meeting and greeting everyone.
Yeah, I think so we went once, last year was, so Leslie, last year was the first year, right, that we went?
Oh, yes, last year was the
You have to listen.
I'm sorry, but one of our newest members that we got at Dragon Day last year.
Yes.
Okay. But what I was gonna say is, I don't think we actually got to see the parade or anything last year, because if I remember right, it rained. On Stone, so you didn't have it.
But it's a blast. It is such fun anyway. Anyway, it's a great time.
Do we think the date is, okay, I
haven't heard anything about it yet.
I haven't either, and I looked online, but somebody said it was May 30th.
Yeah, we have an email from the
You
organizer.
have it, so it is May 30th. And as you know, May 30th is kind of booking up for a lot of things. So we have May 30th, St. George, we have May 30th, Girls on the Run, and we have May 30th, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So
It's quite possible some of that's gonna change because we can't be in so many.
we can't, and it would be great to have
A big
10
group.
people or 12 people at any of these one events, as opposed to having to pick and choose. Al, hang on. Oh, do you have something on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say Sleep in Heavenly Peace. I'm not sure who organized it, but they do that every month, once a month. So that might be the easiest thing to reschedule.
Yeah, but the thing is we were trying, because that was gonna be our epic, that was gonna be the epic day, so they were trying to keep it in May, and their May event is May 30th.
We can get involved in different Girls on the Run event too. Like I was just doing that, something I volunteered for.
Yeah.
So, there's the sneaker soiree later in the year. There's like so many
Can
other
everybody-
things.
Just think on the other room can hear you.
Yeah, so I said we could do another Girls on the Run event. It doesn't have to be the 5K. The 5K needs a lot of volunteers. We can do it next year. I just volunteer at it. That's why I thought it was nice when we were talking at the community service committee. But there's the sneaker soiree they do later in the year. There's so many events they do that they could use help at. So it doesn't have to be this one.
Soiree sounds like this.
So I got Armand first.
Spring is here. I'm wondering if this club still has an interest in doing the town access area down by the river for the new people. It involves picking up trash, cutting grass, lawnmower, string trimmer type stuff. We've done it for the past number of years, and we're getting fewer and fewer volunteers to do it. I see, raise your hand if you're interested in participating in that. Oh, this is good. All right, so I'm gonna go around and get some names.
Yep.
Thank you.
And give that to Cal, if you would.
Hey, everybody. I was just talking to my friend Callum this morning, and we were talking about knitting, which we both do. And a couple of other people here said that they craft. I know that Sally crochets, and some of you do crafts or might like to do crafts.
Yeah.
And if you would like to do crafts, either monthly or maybe bi-monthly, depending on schedules. And we don't have a set date yet, because the first thing I'm going to do is consult people about their schedules. I'm sending a sign up sheet around. It's not committing you to anything, but if you're interested and wanted to be in the loop and you're like, I always wanted to learn to crochet or to embroider or whatever, we can teach you. Or just come and hang out with us. So put your number or email on the list and I'll get in touch with you and we'll consult about schedules. But that's the sign up sheet that's going around and it's filling up. So just put it on the back.
Bring it over to Chris.
All right, my turn. All right, so the policeman pulls over a guy who's got 4 penguins in the back of his car.